For my part of the Amendment Enrichment Project, I chose to make a poster with 3 amendments. The first amendment I chose was the 15th Amendment. This was ratified in 1870 and it gave African American the right to vote. Although it was passed in 1870, it did not become really enforced until like 1965, when there were more laws to enforce it. For this picture, I did 2 hands meeting in the middle, and there's an X and a V over it to symbolize the 15th Amendment. For my next amendment, I chose the 21st Amendment. This amendment retracted the 18th Amendment, and it also now allowed the distribution and production of alcohol. This was passed in 1933. A good way to remember the 21st Amendment is that the legal U.S. age to drink is 21, so the 21s are the same. For this picture, I did a wine glass being poured into multiple different glasses, and there's an XX and an I to symbolize 21. The last amendment I chose was the 22nd Amendment. This ensured that presidents can only run for 2 terms. It was put into place in 1947. This is when Harry Truman was in office, and in Section 1 it stated that it would not affect the president that was in office at the moment. So if Harry Truman decided that he did want to run for 3 presidencies, the amendment would have no action on him. This was put into place right after FDR ran for 4 terms and won all 4, but then died while he was in office. So this amendment kind of ensured that there was a less likely chance that a president would die in office, and there wouldn't have to be a change of powers. The picture I did for this was no man is good 3 times. It just symbolizes that presidents should be held to 2 terms, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Skylar Modis, and this is my Amendment Enrichment poster. And the amendments I chose to talk about were the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and the Fifth Amendment. So the first amendment I chose to talk about was the First Amendment, and the First Amendment states that all citizens have the right to freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. These are the 5 guaranteed freedoms that every U.S. citizen has, and thus makes America the freest country in the world. Congress is not allowed to make laws involving an established religion, abridging the freedom of speech, press, assembly, and petition of the government for complaints without fear of punishment. There is not a legal age restricting anyone from practicing this amendment. You only have to be present within the country to be able to practice this amendment. Citizenship is not needed. This amendment protects people from the control of the government, allowing us to do and say whatever we desire. But with each of these freedoms, there comes restrictions and limitations. So the second amendment I chose to talk about today is the Fourth Amendment. And the Fourth Amendment states that all citizens have the right to protection against an illegal search of one's property. This means that all people have the right to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures that shall not be violated. Warrants can be issued, but only upon probable cause, supported by an affirmation, and particularly describing the place, the people, and the thing you want to search and seize. For example, if a person gets pulled over and is asked by the police for a search of their car, the person has the right to refuse access unless provided with a warrant and probable cause. This amendment places restrictions on the government's power. So the last amendment I'm going to be talking about today is the Fifth Amendment. And the Fifth Amendment states about the protection against self-incrimination, double jeopardy, the protection of due process, and right to a grand jury. This means that no person shall be held to answer for a capital or a crime unless on presentment of a grand jury. It guarantees U.S. citizens specific rights, including not having to testify against yourself if you're accused of committing a crime. So the pictures I chose to represent the First Amendment, the first one was this megaphone pretty much representing all the guaranteed freedoms: speech, religion, press, and petition. Not so much assembly, but yeah. So this represents the First Amendment. This small one right here represents the First Amendment too. It is little tiny pictures representing each of the 5 freedoms. And this third picture down here is a little cartoon. It's a police officer talking about just a little funny cartoon about sieges and searches. This small picture down here is double jeopardy relating to the Fifth Amendment. And plead the Fifth also is relating to the Fifth Amendment also. So I just kind of put that in: keep quiet, and plead the Fifth. And then this little picture over here is a search warrant. Just a little search warrant picture. So these 2 pictures relate to the Fourth Amendment.
This is my poem about the Second, Third, and Eighth Amendment. The Second Amendment gives us the right to bear arms, letting us protect our beloved farms. Now every robber has second thoughts solely because they don't want to get shot. According to the Third Amendment, no soldiers are allowed to quarter in your house, which will hopefully bring joy to your spouse. The government can't place anyone in your home, securing your privacy and being alone. The Eighth Amendment states that if you're in jail, you shall not receive unduly punishments nor excessive bail, unless you commit a heinous crime, which then you have no choice but to do the time.